Our study session is changed as well as we'll have some changes for tonight, but the study session, Robert had to be in Olympia testifying on bill regarding, the composting and stuff. So he wasn't able to be here. So we're moving Andy up, who's gonna talk about, I don't know which one you're gonna do first, but you've got snow and then you've got this new one that's come up and has urgency on it because it's an almost expiring pot of money, but so those are the two, and let's start right off. And Andy, you can choose which one you want to do first.
All right, I'll start with the wastewater just so that we have more time for snow removal and get to this one. So if you have paper packets, I just passed them out. Otherwise, everyone else is electronic. I emailed out a write-up and then the actual agreement with Barella. I know you haven't seen this, and I apologize. This is not our norm. Normally, we want you to have multiple touches of something before you're asked to vote on it at the council meeting tonight. This one's being brought to you last minute because it just came to my attention late in December that if we don't spend the 2.5 million that we have in grant funding by this summer, we're going to lose it. So I'm bringing it to you so that we can get Barella started on the design of this and then ultimately try to bid it in June this year. So a lot of history here, but in 2017, the city was awarded USDA rural development funds for 3 different collections or 3 different wastewater improvement projects. One was the large improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. The other was the South Interceptor project. And then the third was actually split into 2 projects called Priority 1 and 2, one project, and then Priority 3. So Priority 1 and 2 were the cured in place pipelining project that we finished last year. That was phase 3, Priority 1 and 2. And I broke them out. This is what the 1, 2, 3 A and B is. So this portion is the phase 3, Priority 3, which is constructing a lift station on Commercial Street. And then increasing the capacity of the sewer, of the gravity sewer main that feeds into the lift station, building next to sewer force. So at the very end of the packet on the back sheet, if you have a paper copy, it shows the location of the project. Even more confusing on a project that's been broken out into multiple phases and priorities. Now this sheet also shows Priority 1 and Priority 2. Okay. The items that are in red are the things that we're proposing to include in this project. The items shown in blue are things that aren't funded at this time. They don't fit into the funding of this project as it is now. So we're not planning to do those. That is what the overall improvements will look like in this area. So really what we're seeing here, if you're looking at that exhibit in Commercial Street is where we will reroute the gravity sewer main. It currently lies within what's my technical term here? The Icicle Falls putting course, I think is the term.
Enzian Falls.
Enzian Falls. Enzian Falls putting course. So it's a undersized main and also is not accessible by our crews. It comes down the steep bank under the highway and then crosses under the putting course where we don't have easy access. And that is a really large collection system, a large pipe that runs through there with a lot of flow. So as part of this project, we're moving that into the road, upsizing it, and then we will be building a force main on city property that we already own down there to then pump it up to 8th Street. So I know that's a lot of information that I just dumped on you. And it makes sense to me because I've been looking at this for a while. What questions can I help clarify? What questions and concerns do you have? Yeah.
The red mark going up, is it Commercial Street? Is that going to be underground?
It will be, yeah.
Will we fix water mains along that too, so that we don't have to redig them up to fix them so that we can fix the road?
At this point, we don't have funding to do that,
Okay.
so it'll just be sewer. That's a good question, actually. Thank you.
Is that something that you could look into? Is it a possibility?
We do have water main improvements that we want to do there with the timeline of this funding. It's not going to be feasible for us to make those water main improvements before the sewer. But the water in that location is on the other side of the road, and further out of the way. So we wouldn't be repaving the whole road down there.
It would be a completely different trench. Okay.
Yeah.
So Andy, I see phase one, phase two, phase one, proposed gravity sewer main. That is that where, I'm not sure where this is, that is yet to be built, right?
Yeah, everything on that exhibit is yet to be built.
Okay. And we're gonna, that's where it's coming down through the putting course,
It currently comes down on the black dashed line.
okay?
Um,
And I sense that we were gonna move it to another section, like with city-owned property.
we'll move the lift station, or not move, but construct the lift station. So right now, the way this flows, it runs across. Andrew, am I able to be a promoter? Or,
I promoted you, but maybe you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm gonna share my screen so that I can kind of point out where these things are.
You want the laser?
Yes, please.
Excuse me. Wait.
While they're prepping that, historically, this portion of the project was always planned. It just, we knew that it was gonna be the last thing, so it was gonna come later. With Tom's departure last summer. That just got lost in transition, and of course, Amy noted that she just found out that there's a timeline
Right.
left on these grant funds. And I do monthly grant reimbursement requests for ongoing legal fees that we've been doing with right of way for this phase plus the previous. And then also Varela is right about 100% spent on their previous entire contract, which did cover the first couple phases, which was the wastewater treatment plant, the south interceptor, and then the is it upsizing? Is that what you call when they burst the pipes and made them line?
I thought we lined them.
Yeah.
This year.
So all of that has been played out, and so this is just the final piece.
This is the third part that we didn't get to.
Yeah, yeah. If you remember Zeke, when Tom would talk about it, he'd go, there's a phase 3, project 3, and that's what this is.
Okay,
So Shane, feel free to ask if you're not able to see. I'm gonna try to walk through this. I'm just using the laser pointer though, because I'm not confident enough to do that in the laser pointer. So right now, the gravity sewer main comes down this dash line that crosses the highway. Then it crosses under the backside of sidewalk and runs down into the putting course here. And then everything from Third Street, west runs down Third Street, and then it comes over and runs along here. Ties in at this location, and then all the sewer combined from this location flows across here. And then, I think this really is accurate. It does come in. And then ties in right near the intersection of 8th Street.
that's the existing line,
That's the existing line.
okay?
That's the existing line. And so there's multiple benefits to abandoning that. One, that we can actually access it.
Access,
Two, that we can upsize the pipe instead of having to go on private property and do all the restoration in order to upsize in this location. So what we're proposing doing is abandoning this section for now. Well, sorry, abandoning this section entirely. And routing all the sewer that comes from Third Street and further over on Commercial down here. And this is the location of the lift station. This is a parcel that the city owns. Now, I don't know this to be fact, but I believe this is like Someone has said this was like an old jail.
It is our old jail.
Yes. our old
It's an old what?
Jail.
The old
jail.
jail
Oh.
structure that's there.
Okay.
It's covered by hops right now.
The one that's built into the hill,
Yeah.
it looks like a garage, it was a
Mhm.
jail. Oh,
There's burned, yeah, there's a history, like a local lore about that too.
Mhm.
People know about it? Talk after.
Anyway, that's where the station's going.
Proposed location.
So it's the jail that would, like when you used to go into the old city hall and you kept walking, that's the jail? Or is this a different one?
This is a different.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out how I got down there.
This predates even that one.
So we can't jog that 10 feet west where we already have an easement. We need to keep it on this. We need to get an easement for this one because it looks like we have an easement just next to it. Is that correct? I see the dashes and I'm looking at the key and it looks like we have easements just next to that.
Go up,
Just-
no,
Are you looking at?
Yeah,
this
right there.
section?
Yeah,
This itself is the sewer line.
but that box right there next to, yeah, that box, that's an easement, right? That's what the key says, that dash. And then there's a more dense dash, which is what we're proposing. We need to buy this property or an easement. Do we have an easement or not? Just next to that we can,
So that, right now, we're not looking at doing any of the blue as part of this project, so bear with. me
Oh,
if I'm
okay,
making
sorry.
questions.
Okay. I know this is also part of,
This,
yeah.
it's like a 30 by 30 parcel that we have right here. This is where the lift station would go, and we wouldn't be doing any of the blue work
okay.
at this time.
Okay.
This was originally, well, there's been a lot of different, from what I understand the history, because I haven't been here through this project. I think there was a lot of different things that this funding was originally allocated for. Now, this is ultimately where the phase 3, priority 3 ended with this project. Generally, it was just allocated for collection system improvements.
So these dollars that we're talking about right now, this grant that we're gonna lose if we don't spend it is phase 1 and phase 1 or which
Yes.
Okay.
Red phase 1.
ones?
It's just really confusing because it's phase 3, priority.
You said phase 3 or
Phase 1.
Never mind that.
Phase 1 or phase 3?
Yeah.
and
Okay,
then we run out of money, so.
So do
Yeah.
red, use grant dollars, do
Yeah.
blue in the future as funding allows.
Okay. Tribute. Okay.
So then if this is our lift station location, then we would pump by the red dash line up to the manhole, that would be just west of the post hotel.
Does this eventually get into the south interceptor?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
So I thought.
does.
Was this always planned to be done? Or did you just whip this together?
I did not just put this together, but it's been multiple years that this has been the plan.
So we need to start, when does it expire?
I put summer because I can't remember if it's June or July.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
June.
I think it's
So-
June.
And it
It has
sounds
to be
like you just have
complete.
to be committed.
Yeah, so we're working with RD and they're giving us a bit of flexibility. Where we've left it is if we have bid ready plans. They haven't necessarily said that we have to have the contract executed. But we have to have bid ready plans by June, is what we're looking at. So Rella was selected for the entirety of the RD project back in 2018. So really, this is just supplementing their contract for the design, bidding, and the construction side of things. So that's the total increase that we're looking at of $5,790 roughly. $5,790,000. What we have here. We have, looking at it with them, yeah, $2.5 million remaining.
Do we have any preliminary ideas on what this project should cost?
Yeah, the construction itself, we're looking between 1.7 and $2 million.
So it's gonna probably be 2.5.
Right.
I know there is a decent sized contingency built into it. Really. We'll know more when we get bids. That's really when we have the final estimate, but that's the current engineer's estimate. 1.7 to 2 million.
That's just for the red
just for the
That's
red.
the red. So the blue one, if you look at what's the dotted line that's abandoned, it looks like where the future blue line is gonna carry waste from behind the pool there. Where's that going now, if it's not gonna go in that abandoned?
It'll stay in that same location on the one that's labeled as abandoned in blue.
Okay.
So really with this project, we're diverting everything from like the Third Street portion down Commercial. And then it sets us up, so when we do have the funding and are able to do the blue, which get separate from this funding. Then we'll have the lift station built that will also accommodate those flows.
Just for clarification, Andy, you mentioned the 5,000?
100.
Oh, 500,000. Oh, okay. That's the design.
Yeah, it's the full engineering services,
Okay,
design, bidding, and construction as well.
but not construction,
Sorry, construction engineering,
construction engineering.
construction engineering, yeah.
No construction in that 500,000, just,
No construction. in
that's
that.
what I thought.
Yeah.
I just want to separate that out. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, this is just the contract with Varela.
To get the ball rolling.
Through the
Right.
full
Said it's gonna cost
lifespan of the
this,
project.
Okay.
800 grand less.
But we have to use $2.5 million by this summer?
We have to have design ready plans, which will allow us to use the full 2.5.
Hate to bring up the complication, but in today's announcement was federal government has frozen all grants, all loans. So this, we may be going through something that's an exercise that may not carry out.
This was previously funded.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't, they're freezing all previously funded grants and loans, frozen, nothing for at least 90 days. Just
Is there a reason for
to
that?
be,
This is the
because they
infrastructure.
want to look and see where it's going and whether it needs to go there or.
We're not
they're
buying-
looking for
We're not
cuts.
buying condoms for Syria here. This is infrastructure, and the confidence level is pretty high that this will get funded. This isn't a futile effort to go through this.
Well, I
Well,
think that's separate,
It's
Right.
not
like that's the
done deal.
component that's outside of our control.
Right.
This,
I understand.
this is funded as long as that doesn't throw a wrench.
So the 90 days, when they say, okay, these projects, infrastructure is good, let's say, is that 90-day period gonna hurt us trying to get this done by June? Right? I mean,
I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with that. I have no idea what that's gonna look like for us. I'd have to get more information.
It's the only thing we can control about that scenario.
is whether or not we go forward as if we're gonna spend this money.
Is the contract with, this company,
Umbrella.
is it contingent on that funding being available? We sign this contract and then the federal government backs out of the grant money. Are we on the hook for $500,000 for the engineering?
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not prepared to answer that because I don't know what that looks like with RD.
Jeez.
I mean, if we
I don't think
spend it,
anybody-
we can't get it reimbursed. That's where we would be landing, yeah.
who's comfortable spending that regardless? It needs to be done.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, we're spending $500,000 for this. We're doing this I mean, this needs to happen, right?
Well, the other piece of this too, roughly half of this is the design, the other half is the construction admin phase. So it would be about 200, I mean, I could total it, or let's say it's roughly $230,000 that we would be on the hook if we didn't get reimbursed. Because we wouldn't go forward with construction if we
If
didn't
we
have
don't get it.
our reimbursement.
So of the $500,000, 230 is the construction and admin roughly.
Approximately,
So we would really just be on the hook for the engineering part of it.
yeah, we wouldn't move forward with any of the construction admin.
So like $270-ish thousand.
Which ultimately, I think you guys would, if we didn't get the grant money, we would seek more grant funding once available. This is a project that has been on Public Works' task list for a very, very long time. This predates this whole grant loan project. So this is a pretty significant project.
Why does the motion include like an increase of a little over $1 million? in the not to exceed
I
amount.
think it's just increasing the total amount to that amount.
Yeah, the current contract is 2,916,975.
Yes, if you look at the first page of the actual amendment itself, that shows the costs with Brella. Now, there is a small math error that Chantel caught. There was a $22,000 math error, so we were gonna amend the motion with you. To just increase the 579,645 that you see on the first page of the actual amendments with them, that's the amount for this work.
Okay.
What happened was there was a math error when they were totaling the original project amount and the net changes. The net changes listed here don't match the net changes from the previous amendment. So we're looking at the $579,000 for this work. But under these contracts, when we bring you the motion, we bring the total dollar amount of the entire contract with them. That's why that like $3.5 million was listed in the motion.
So is the math on this first sheet incorrect? So the adjusted project amount
It's more,
is not the $3.5 million that is in the motion?
it's actually less, so on like the section A 103. B, the net changes from prior amendments, they listed 1,892,937.
Yeah.
In reality, that's actually 1,870,465.
So what's the projected project amount then? Because that should be updated in the motion when we get there, right?
Yeah, so that's like $3,496,620. Versus that's versus what was listed here as the 3.5.
Her intent was to change the motion to the actual change order dollar, not the new total dollar of the contract. But you can go either way or both.
Why wouldn't we just change it to what it's supposed to be? I mean, right now,
We can do that, yeah.
okay.
I'll be honest, I just didn't have time to go back
Yeah.
and reprint anew.
I literally walked into her office at 15 minutes before this meeting and went,
Oh, yeah.
wait, Sam, I think the numbers are off.
Cross it out. Yeah. It's hard to do it. What's the total amount now?
$3,496,620.
600 and what?
$20.
20?
Yeah,
3,496,620.
yep,
That's the adjustment.
yep.
And then the amendment amount is
The same.
$579,645.
And
That's the same. It was just the prior
This
amendments.
this one, right?
Yeah, that's what this is.
This is the 70, okay.
That one's wrong.
Oh, this one, Yeah.
C is correct, B is wrong.
well, so we're gonna change this one to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would
Any
you help
other
me through that
questions
too?
before we
What
move on
what are
to-
we doing here
So
down there?
this. Read Zeke's handwriting here.
Yep, yeah, I'll get you. 620.
So this is your-
Now, the blue line that goes across the highway to kind of not exactly directly to the pool, but, and then into the parking lot, will that affect the pool at all?
It will.
When, if when you start doing a covered pool, we get back into that arena.
No, that's a good question. No, it shouldn't impact that at all.
Okay.
Is there anything else you guys want to cover in the study section on this? Are you comfortable if we move on to snow removal?
Just a curiosity,
Yeah.
when do we think that we're gonna prioritize finishing that with the blue portion?
I'll be honest, I don't have an answer. It is a high priority in talking with our streets and utilities crew too, because, I mean, obviously a portion is the capacity, but in removing this portion and all the flows that contribute to that, we have reduced the demand on this portion. So that's one component, but the other component is the maintenance and the lack of access for our crew and talk to them like, this is a huge priority for us. So it's more just how that fits into our budget. And then I don't know what wrench this is gonna throw in things, but just having it detailed in plan so that we can get subsequent funding for it.
That's gonna alleviate some pressure on the system, essentially.
Can we use any hotel motel tech?
Chantel's giggles. We can.
We can't for nothing, for our cost.
No.
Are we draining hotels on this site?
Well, that's reflected in their sewer
Their
rates. So
sewer.
because it's a
It's all
sewer
sewer.
enterprise fund, we have to use sewer revenue.
Really?
Sewer and water, yeah, those are all enterprise funds, which means they're self-funded.
Yeah, but it's tourist impacted.
But that has to.
That's-
be
Yeah, it's still
reflected in
paid
our-
for by ratepayers.
It's,
Yeah.
that's built into their rates, just like
Oh,
the rest.
they're already paying for it.
They are paying.
Yeah.
When they rent a room,
Okay,
and part of that room is paying for the sewer bill.
right. Okay.
Are you all right if I move on to the snow removal?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is this a motion that'll be made tonight?
That's, yeah, that's why the apology, it's
Yeah.
one right after.
I just wanted to make sure.
All right, so the last study session, we ended up talking some about snow management, so that was kind of the brief intro. And now I have a few more details to get into and really look at like the code revisions. And Tom Bolin is here tonight as well. Tom is our assistant park supervisor. And because Parks is the one that oversees all of our sidewalks now removal, he's just here for any additional questions. If you have anything you want to ask him, please feel free to. He doesn't have to answer.
With the bill.
I don't know.
Okay, I won't think of a hard question then.
So first and foremost, I did just want to preface this conversation with the fact that this is ultimately about safety. The reason that this is being brought to your attention, I was really worried that this was on your street. Is it someone's house?
That's 2 doors down.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh, relevant.
That wall
Um,
fell down. I complained about that earlier.
But I think you can tell from looking at this, like, this obviously does not meet Americans with Disabilities Act standards. Like having sidewalks that have snow on them that have not been removed is a hazard for people who are disabled, but also for people who are trying to navigate on the sidewalks. And they end up walking in the street. So at the end of the day, that is ultimately what we're looking at here is code revisions for safety improvements. And yes, that's reflected through snow management. So what I have here is kind of 3 pieces here. One, the current snow and ice management operations. Pretty brief, and we're really only gonna focus on sidewalks, since at the last study session, we went over kind of the high level road snow removal. We're gonna talk about the existing code. And then I'm hoping to just get some policy direction, a path forward from you on at least what you're wanting to see, what direction you want us to keep moving in as we continue discussing this. And I also want to say that I'm not expecting that we make any big decisions tonight. I know this is a big topic, and I do expect that it's going to take time for us to really flesh out everything. And then the last piece, I guess, anything that we recommend is not going into effect this winter. Really, my goal is that if we are going to make policy changes or code changes, those go into effect this summer, so we have plenty of time to let people know. But nothing will be going into effect for this current winter break. So as far as our current snow and ice management. Oh. So I shared this with you last time, but I did just kind of want to reiterate it very quickly. Our average annual snowfall, we get 96 inches of snow. Oh, gosh, sorry, I didn't mess with this. So our average number of snow events that trigger snow removal is 15. We have 13.7 miles of pedestrian facilities in the city, and currently the city maintains 7.4 miles, which is about 54% of the total sidewalks in the city. The Parks Department is the one that's responsible for all sidewalk snow removal, and they have 4 operators who come in to manage snow on the sidewalks. So this is the organizational chart of our Parks Division. And I wanted to provide this just to help understand like what Parks looks like and how they operate. So John Shawns is our Parks Supervisor. He wasn't able to be here tonight. We have Tom Bolin, who's here tonight as our Assistant Parks Supervisor. And then I broke these out by color, even though I'm sorry, it's quite hard to tell. So everyone whose box is yellow is the Parks crew who comes in to do snow removal. So Tom, as our Assistant Parks Supervisor, leads the crew, and he's the one that's watching the webcams and making the call as to when the Parks crew is going to come in to do snow removal. So then he notifies Jamie, Larry, and Sal, and the 3 of them come in. Everyone has a Bobcat and has a designated route that they're doing. In the Parks Department, we also have Jared, who's our weekend parks maintenance worker, who typically is not plowing. Doug and George are 24-hour parks maintenance workers, and they primarily, now correct me if I'm wrong, I think they primarily clean bathrooms. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we do have Isaac, who's on staff right now, and I did put him on this org chart because he is one of our 7-month seasonals in his position. Normally, we don't keep our seasonals on through the winter, but because of the timing of how this year worked out, we did have Isaac on. So I wanted to acknowledge him, even though he's not on this. Instead of having the 2 7-month seasonal positions that we've historically had in parks, we are transitioning to have 2 8-month seasonal. And the difference between the 7 and the 8-month is that the 8-month are permanent positions. We'll just lay them off over the winter. And that really is a big deal in the Parks Department, because right now having seasonal employees that are not permanent means that we end up having a lot of turnover in those positions. I think last year.
We fired 2.
Yeah, we let 2 go. But I want to say they were both vacant at the same time, so we were down 2 people. And it really does just become a challenge in having a seasonal position in a department that otherwise is all permanent. So these 8-month seasonal will be permanent union employees with benefits, just laid off over the winter.
Do they get to collect unemployment while they're off?
They do qualify for it, and most, in the past, when we had the 8-month seasonals, they did go for it. Yeah. We did budget for those 2 positions, which does require some benefits as well, because they're union covered positions.
But really just painting a picture right now, current snow removal operations is Tom, Jamie, Larry, and Sal who come in. So Tom can speak to this more than I can, but so a sidewalk snow removal event is triggered by 2 inches or more of snow. Generally, the parks team comes in at 2 a.m. I can't talk today, I'm sorry, comes in at 2 a.m. and begins snow removal. Around 7 a.m. is when the sidewalk use starts to pick up for people getting to school. And then for our crew that comes in at 2 a.m., they're done at 10 a.m. Depending on the timing of the snow event, yes, we do sometimes have snow events that start more during the day, but it is a really big challenge because of the use that our sidewalks get and actually getting to plow them during the day. Feel free to jump in, but I know Thomas shared that, especially when you're on the highway and plowing the sidewalks out here, if you have pedestrians walking towards you, you're causing a hazard if they need to get off the sidewalk in order and like walk in the street in order to get around the plowing. So we are quite constrained on the time of day that we can safely plow the sidewalks. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I was just sharing with Andy earlier today that, if you have one snow event, then depending on how much you get, it requires us on the sidewalk crew to come in at least twice. It's not a one and done thing. Even with just one snow event, because we have to keep going back, we have to contend with the DOT on the highway. That rollers, we're removing a lot of snow, not only what comes down, but from the DOT, from the plow trucks. And we're in skid steers, so this, they can give us a whole bunch of snow and it takes us a long time to catch up.
You're preaching to the choir as residents too, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
Yeah. With our residential area, it's also with our plow trucks, with contractors and homeowners.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit, but, so we have a short window that we deal in the residential area when school starts, when the buses start coming, that gets
Mhm.
too much, especially on Pine Street and stuff like that over there, but,
What is your observation when we look at passing this and enforcement next year? When you go now, and it's been kind of a light winter, what percentage of the sidewalks are you observing should be that aren't being shoveled that residents aren't? Is it a lot of violation, a lot of non-compliance, or is it's gonna be, how are people gonna react to this? Are there a lot of sidewalks that are gonna have to be shoveled next year? Or is it
You're talking about the ones that are not currently in our.
they're not compliant? Yeah, that would not be compliant with this.
I see it getting better, but it's not, that's hard to say. I wish it was better. How's that?
Yeah,
Um,
I get that. I'm just trying to think about the first community night. It's like, hey, here's the fee schedule, here's the violation schedule each time, or the city could do it for $58. We're
Yeah.
willing to do that. Just curious what that looks like. If it's a big,
Do you mind if we
Couple
come back?
years.
Do you mind if we
Sorry,
come
yeah.
back to that?
Sorry.
Just, I do think that's really important, and also, I want to just run through this quickly, so you kind of have an overview, and then I do want to get into those
Okay.
discussions.
That sounds right.
So some of this is kind of what I'm up to, but, at the last presentation, I showed you the downtown area where we do all the actual removal, where we push all the snow off the end of Ninth Street. But really, snow storage, as we all are aware, is the biggest challenge that we have. So in the downtown area, we push all the snow off the end of Ninth Street onto private property, and we have an agreement in place for us to store our snow down there. One of our challenges is that is a year-over-year contract, and that private property owner very, very much doesn't have to renew. He has to notify us by, I believe it's July 1st each year, but he can back out of that agreement. So if we don't have a place to store snow down there, it's a big deal for us. That means that we're falling to other city property, and usually it's a cemetery. But as you can imagine, downtown pushing versus running trucks and hauling out to the cemetery, it's a big challenge, and it's something that we're working on a solution for, just so if we do lose access to that property, we have a plan in place. Another commercial areas and the residential areas, maintaining the road width and parking area while also not burying the sidewalk is a real challenge. I guess this picture doesn't show it super well, but if we don't have a buffer space, like a snow storage area, but behind the back curb and the sidewalk, there is no place to store snow. I'm sorry, I've had such a day today. I can't talk at all.
We're with you, Andy.
So, yeah, competing with roadway width and burying the sidewalk. One of the ways that we are working to address that is a new development. We purposely have roadway sections that separate the sidewalk from the back of curb so that there is snow storage space. But again, that doesn't fix our existing issue. These are just things I want you to be aware of. Like, these are things that we're thinking about, that we're trying to implement so that new roads don't have the same issues. But again, that doesn't fix the issues that are existing. Any questions? I think I made that way more confusing than I wanted to.
Essentially, you're just saying that there's sidewalks in the residential section that get buried by our own city plows, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and possibly, we don't clear that. They might have to clear that themselves. Is that a possibility?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm curious what that looks like in the spring with the streets that are chip sealed, with the rocks getting pushed into those grass areas that people mow, or I'm just curious if that's what that's gonna look like.
I think you just touched on what it's gonna look like.
Yeah,
It's gonna be grass full of rocks.
yeah.
Okay.
It's like that.
All of our snow blowers that
Yeah.
have been throwing rocks all winter long.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay.
There's more clanging going on when I snow blow nowadays.
Come on. Shovel.
I wish we had perfect solutions for all these things. It would make
Yeah.
like some juicy. I realized I put this map in a different section of the presentation than I thought I did, but anything on current snow removal operations, what we're doing right now?
I have a quick question.
Yes, I can tell.
Well, I think I've asked before in different places, but how do we determine what is cleared by the city and what's not?
I'll just
So-
number it to my other.
The map of red and black.
Well, I know that's, but who established these? Some of this is the safe routes to school, I get that.
Yeah,
That makes sense. Are there any other considerations on why certain, say, commercial establishments get to have their sidewalk done by city workers while others have to do it themselves?
I'm happy to speak to the portions I know, like the historical portion, I really don't know. I know this map existed, and then I know, for example, on Ski Hill, when we did the first phase of the Ski Hill sidewalks and constructed up to Evans, that was all done under a Safe Routes to School grant. So therefore it became part of the Safe Routes to School. I truthfully don't know how the rest of these were initially established, but we've generally kept the same historic sidewalks that we've had. I mean, looking at the transportation network too, and I'm sorry, it's quite hard to see on this map, but like the gray sidewalks show the existing that aren't maintained by the city. Generally speaking, these are on more of the collector roads is. I mean, what's making sense to me, looking at this, trying to grab the sidewalks that channel the most number of people to the schools. As far as the commercial area. Like commercial street down here. Do you know the history of that?
Well, I can talk about, Front Street, let's say from 14th or Dance to Division, was typically not done. We weren't required to do that. And then I know we had, a record number of people come for Christmas lighting. And so you have the big berm in the parallel parking. And that would get rolled over onto the sidewalk and we weren't required to do it. Well, everyone's walking in the road now and so you got cars and pedestrians right alongside each other. And so that's when we're like, well, let's plow just the north side, Dan's side, we'll plow that side. So we plowed that side. And then, of course, the people on the other side said, hey, well, that's not fair. If you're gonna plow that side, we want our side plowed. So with the combination of that and safety, of course, having a sidewalk on each side of Front Street from Division to the highway, they got people off the street. Because there's not a lot of room for snow storage there. And, with the parking now, we want that cleared too. So now you want that cleared from curb to curb. In some areas, you have the planting beds with the trees. And some are on the back side of the sidewalk, some are on the curb side of it, and there's just not a lot of room, so we have to open that up, and that's an example of what happened with that section, when it was just a safety thing,
We see that I've seen that on Commercial Street between Division and then Dan's on that backside of Commercial, go leading up to the facility, right?
Yeah.
Where you guys are.
Right.
It's dark
Yeah.
also on that street,
And,
not well
you know,
lit.
we're getting more kiosks, street signs, planting beds, and it's getting tougher. We're trying to stay off, you know, it's very easy to hit people's property, retaining walls and trees and bushes when it's under snow and you gotta kind of figure out where that's at. So we always go around town before the snow flies for the first snow event and kind of look at stuff, look at hazards. Every year it's different. We have more different areas to, assess before the snow buries it. We find it with a snow blower and destroy it.
A fire hydrant.
Yeah, exactly. But that's an example as a commercial area that it was just pure safety as we had to open up.
Yeah. So now, Tommy, don't you clear both sidewalks on Front all the way to Dance? Pretty much, I mean, just
Yeah.
because, remember that came through here as far as doing it.
Right. And we kind of got to juggle that with our crew because there's only certain bobcats that will go through there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mine can't go through. We have to go down to the smaller ones because of the,
Oh,
you know,
maneuvering,
basically going like this all the way down. It gets pretty tight in some areas.
right?
So.
I have to be a stickler, but one thing you said bugs me a little bit, and I personally have a sensitivity to people who complain getting a little favorable treatment, and you said you did the one side of Front Street because we needed safe passage, and then the people on the other side complained and said, well, that's not fair. Well, I could argue that it's not fair that the sidewalk behind my building is not being cleared. And so I guess I really think if there's any of that existing on this map right now, because somebody complained and they get now the squeaky wheel treatment, that we should revisit that and make sure that we're doing what is fair and appropriate and utilizing our public resources efficiently.
I wouldn't say that that was a completely accurate caricature of how that all played out, because most of us were here when that played out.
Okay.
Yes, there was some complaining, but the impetus of the complaints weren't that they weren't getting fair treatment. It was that the city plows were dumping a lot of snow on sidewalks that they'd already cleared, and then they weren't clear anymore. And there's no snow storage on Front Street in that area, and trying to keep all the parking necessitates them pushing snow onto the sidewalk, basically. And so trying to keep the
Yeah.
parking open made it that the sidewalk couldn't stay open unless an actual machine went through. And that was more of the impotence of having both sides of it being cleared mechanically.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah,
I latched on.
Good question.
No, it's a good question.
It's a
I
good
mean, when we
question.
upgraded the street, we didn't include new snow storage accommodations. So trying to keep the parking open during the holidays makes it really hard to keep the sidewalks open without a machine.
I can see that.
So with Mike's point, is this map, is this a good one to lock in for I mean, is there any evaluations that, kids aren't walking down the street as often and we can shorten this one? Are we good with this? I'm just curious, not that it matters,
That
but
might be a question for you guys, like, from my perspective, I do look at it and think that it makes sense, but I don't know, is there something to you that you think that doesn't make sense?
I think I get the impression that the city's already at capacity. So we'd have to open more routes. This does move kids, safe school and does keep the parking lots and the tourists on the sidewalks. I would just say this is where we need to leave it for now. Just because we don't have the capacity of crew and hours and machines to expand it. I know people would like to expand it, but it's like, we're already maxed out. That's the read I get.
So we will get an additional from the Evans up to Pine on the same side in a couple of years. We've got the money to build that out, and that's again gonna extend, what we're gonna be committing to get that all the way up to Pine. So that line that comes and cuts across will now go all the way up. Yeah.
But just to clarify, Zeke, I wasn't saying additional. I was saying if there's some they need to take away that they say, oh, maybe we don't need to do this.
This one.
Yeah, adjustments. That's what I was saying. Yeah,
Adjustments.
okay. I wasn't saying additional for sure.
Yeah.
No, adjustments. If they're good with this, you're daily. I mean, this is your
Yeah,
your call.
that's.
I'm just curious.
We were looking at this earlier and that's basically what we do. It connects.
And it works good
Yeah.
with it. Time. Yeah. Cool.
So I guess flipping back to code. there anything else on what we're currently doing before we look at code?
I'm
Sorry,
curious why
one more
the-
question. I just was looking on the code and it, or on the prioritization. And it does have, say, non-preferential in a couple of places. You know what they're referring to that? So like under priority two, also, this is on page 10 of the packet. City streets, residential / downtown, non-preferential. Since it comes up a few times, the wording in here, I just was wondering what that meant.
These are the guidelines that Tom put together, right? Walk holder?
Yeah, I wanna say these were updated
Yeah.
in 2023. Yeah, 2023. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can. If it's not in the policy, I'm not sure where it's defined. I do think long-term, this is something that we might kind of just revisit
Yeah,
the snow removal policy itself.
it's not a sticking point by any means. I'm just
Yeah,
curious since we're learning.
no, I'm sorry, that I don't know what we're considering that to be in here.
Well,
It's just
where-
the attached snow removal map, so. I don't know if that would. Preferential. I'm sorry, I wish I had an answer for you.
That's okay. There's no answer, there's no answer.
Any other questions?
Andy, do you know why some of the downtown core has the city doing snow removal and the rest of it is owner snow removal in the downtown core? Since we're removing all the snow and pushing it down Ninth.
So you're saying the downtown removal?
Front Street, Eighth,
Yeah,
Ninth. Commercial, a lot of that is owner removal, but there's some city removal.
mhm.
Do you know why the city is differentiated between the two?
The city removal is adjacent to city property, so the portion that you're seeing that's highlighted, it's hard to see, but that little bit that's highlighted right here is Front Street Park.
Yeah,
And then the little piece on A Street on this corner is A Street restrooms. So because that's adjacent city property, we do maintain it.
So the folks on Commercial Street have to clear their own. I mean,
but they can push it out into the
Right.
street, right?
They can
It
push
get
it out if
plowed.
they get there, right, before we get there.
okay,
If they can push it into the street
Into
before
the-
the plows come, right?
That's the idea.
They do push it into the street.
Yeah, all of Front Street pushes their snow into the street as well, after our plows.
Our
have been
plows are
cleared
good.
after.
so it sets it till the next morning or something.
Yeah.
Well,
So to Tom's point, where he was saying that Parks comes in 2 nights in a row for every snow event. At least in the downtown, that's true with utilities as well. They come in the first night, then all the businesses push their snow into the road, then they come in the next night to do the final.
so moving into the code,
Yeah.
the transition, I mean, now we're gonna make that a finable offense, correct?
Shane
Pushing
has a
snow into
question
the,
too. After you, Travis, of course.
Well, sorry, that was, Travis, that was actually my question also is in the code, it says that you're not allowed to push snow into the street.
I gently give it back Commercial Street and spread it out. Per the old code,
Well, per the current code, you can do that as long as.
Per the
you're
current code, you
spreading
can
it
do that.
out.
yeah, I spread it out.
And on dark, warmer asphalt, it actually melts faster that way.
Yeah. So now, we talk about the businesses now pushing it out, they will be in violation of this, is that correct?
Yes, and there we go. Part of the issue with that is that while it says it needs to be spread evenly, and I have to read the exact language, what ends up happening in some locations is we have people put very deep, large amounts of snow across the road. It happens in the residential area as well.
Mm.
And now we have a bigger issue. Yeah. It's not a perfect solution.
It's been discussed in the past, I imagine, right? You guys have discussed the previous council, you guys have, this language isn't new, this new.
I
code
know, I know that this
Well, it's not in the code yet.
language
Well,
was
this-
discussed
For a
in
reason.
Yeah, it was
2024.
discussed. Okay, it was discussed last year, yeah.
Yeah,
I actually taped or videotaped or whatever it was with my camera. A
yeah.
guy pushing the snow, all the snow eventually out of his yard across and put it in Osborne over from the sidewalk there.
Hmm.
What's gonna give it to you, Bill?
Oh, I blew my snow into the Osborne when I lived over there. I ran out of room. I didn't have room to put it, so my thrower could go across the street. That's exactly what I did.
Selby, you're not helping this discussion.
Well, hey, I mean, this is a subset of the community.
Who do we tell on you?
All of these examples are a part of the reason why this isn't codified yet either,
Mhm.
because we
Yeah.
have so much snow storage issues, like
We do.
finding people when they don't have any place to put snow doesn't seem like the answer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
and maybe-
mean?
and
So
honestly,
it needs to be
maybe it's not,
nuanced. It needs some finessing, and yes, maybe the code needs to be updated, but I don't think it needs to be hard and fast because people really struggle with where to put snow.
But put it in your yard.
Sometimes you don't have any more room though.
You run out of room, and that was the problem. That was my issue, my
Then
first
cart it to
year.
the back of the house.
What's that?
Cart it to the back of the house.
Hard.
There's no,
Back to side
There's
yard.
a large stuff that my husband ended up having to put his skis on, walk up on the snow pile and take the snow blower up there to then push it back. I mean,
And thank God he's young and athletic, somebody who's not so much, right?
Yeah.
That's,
yeah,
I mean, oof.
well, and to your point, I do want to have this be a discussion because maybe this isn't our solution, but I do think we need to find a solution that we can have open sidewalks so that people can safely maneuver through the city. Now,
I agree.
what that looks like, I really am gonna turn to you. There are a bunch of options. It could be these code revisions. That also could look like giving staff the resources to do the sidewalks and removal. It could look like a combo of those. So really, that is the direction I'm looking for from you. Are you like, absolutely no way, we do not like these code revisions and we don't want to implement them? Are we over on the other side of, we want to give staff the resources to be able to maintain? It's like, what's our spectrum here? Where are we?
So Andy, when I emailed you about other cities like Whitefish, what did you find out?
They all have that 24-hour sidewalk snow removal code language. And I lived in Bozeman, it was the same thing there. We had 24 hours to remove our snow. I think in reality, it ended up being a while longer than that before we actually got the bill. But they would send a contractor out and leave a bill taped on your front door that they removed your snow and it was on you to pay.
This is ADA compliant, we're behind, right? We're not,
Yeah, we
this is like,
And that's,
right? I mean, I think,
that's still what Wenatchee does that.
yeah.
They tell you remove it or you'll get a bill. And they use contractors. Again, they don't do it.
Right.
Have contractors go do it. And get the bill.
Is it in their code then?
Andy, oh, yes, stand up.
Oh, yeah, Jane?
Yeah, I had a question about the code in section 1220.020, where it says sidewalks impossible to clear. I was just curious why it was only stated within commercial districts shall within the time specified be allowed to strew ashes or sand versus why wouldn't it be all districts? Residential and commercial?
I'm sorry, Jane, would you mind? Sure, Paul. Oh, I'm struggling to share this.
Interesting. 1220.020.
Yeah, under sidewalks impossible to clear. Why the code states it's only for commercial, like in the event that sidewalks are frozen so hard that it can't be removed without destroying the
Damage.
pavement, yeah, damaging the pavement. Why wouldn't that be, for all districts, residential and commercial, not just commercial?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I overlooked making any changes to that.
Okay,
Um,
no worries, I was just curious.
It wasn't that I was only intending for that to apply to commercial districts. I'm assuming that that's also because, section 1220.010 only applies to commercial districts.
1.0 is only commercial?
It was.
It was.
Used to be. Oh.
She just.
Well,
got to-
it is currently, because you haven't adopted. the
Right.
code.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, because that was struck out in this document.
But you're right, I just honestly overlooked that.
Good call,
Yeah.
good captain. Andy, to answer your question, me personally, this is directed to council too. I personally don't like the idea of creating a code when we know very well that we're immediately going to have a whole area of town that are violators, like the downtown core, right? So if we make it a code that says that that is against the law and then they cannot comply reasonably, then I think that's,
So throwing the snow into the street. Is that what
yeah,
you're talking about?
exactly. And they have
Yeah.
nowhere else to put it. It's commercial downtown, no yards, right? There's nowhere to put
Yeah.
the snow. So we making a code that creates criminal violators of a
Right.
bunch of our citizens and
Take it on.
business owners. I don't like it, but, and I do feel like my personal approach would be to, if you guys put a proposal on how you think what resources you would need to manage the snow, I would like to know, and if we can provide that.
Yeah. Now just,
Do you guys, council, agree with that?
Tom had
Yeah.
originally had a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
they've had that discussion before,
Yeah,
and it was like a 1.4 million edition or something.
pretty costly.
well,
Yeah.
I
was a conversation around removing the berm from driveways.
Oh,
I
maybe.
think there's two things going on here, because I think, yeah, to Selby's point, that was about the berm removal. And the other piece, this is part of why I wanted to give you all the background at the beginning. This is also a potential option for the council. We do have the 8-month seasonal positions. If you wanted those to be permanent, full-time positions and gave the resources to do so, right now we have, it would be 150% increase from what we're currently doing. So right now, we roughly do 7.4 miles, I think, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. It's an additional 3.3 miles of sidewalk that we would be adding in the residential area if we did all the residential sidewalks. So that would be 2 additional bobcats and 2 additional staff members that we would need in order to continue with operations like we do, like the schedule that we do to add those sidewalks.
The difficulty is that you're adding them for the whole period
Yeah.
and you've got 15 snow
days.
events. So you don't get to call them back and let, I mean, if they're there, then you gotta find things for them to do in the wintertime that isn't snow.
Is it fair to say that the property tax that people pay really doesn't cover a whole lot? I mean,
Right.
if we were flush and we had so much that would cover our public safety and all these things, and we said, would also want to shovel your sidewalks, the city can do it. It's a lot. It's a big ask, I think, right?
It wouldn't be a problem.
Not even. Okay,
No.
so.
we could add a fee to our utility bill for it, though.
You mentioned
Very,
that,
we
you mentioned
very
that for,
generally have.
you've mentioned that for the berms before, which I'm not a fan of. Maybe if we were adding another fee to people to produce sidewalks, maybe it's only applicable to those who have sidewalks in front of their homes. Maybe that's an assessment that I'd be willing to pay. So that but I know that the snow just ended up in my yard. And that's my concern with where I live is the road is so wide. And if the snow is plowed curb to curb, and then I'm now responsible for moving all of that displaced snow to remove the sidewalk into my yard. Meanwhile, I've moved my sidewalk snow into my yard. Meanwhile, my roof has sloughed into my yard. I don't have 6,000 square feet lots are not very large when you're considering how big your yard is for snow storage.
A few years back, we investigated some kind of a vehicle that came when it plowed when they come along and plowed it, it would also, I can't remember, something else followed it, there was attachment
It was like
that.
a snow
There was a
gate.
gate on to lift up
Yeah.
so that wouldn't create the berm.
Yeah, they use them in anchor.
But our driveways are that's good for rural areas.
Yeah, but has there been nothing invented or can we,
It's just our driveways are so close together, that's impractical to use a piece of equipment like that.
oh, right.
They use them in Anchorage. They're very successful up in Anchorage.
They're probably spread out more.
Yeah.
Anchorage isn't that spread out in the town.
We should just get rid of the sidewalks.
But I guess.
Well, you know,
I don't have
It's a
one.
1908.
The berm's a whole nother conversation.
get rid of half of the sidewalks. And,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, on West Street, when they rebuilt that, they built it on one side.
They did.
And that was smart.
That's smart. I agree.
Right.
But
Any
we've
parking on the
You
other
got
side.
on
we got yours up there that has the wide street and two
both
sidewalks. Get rid of one of them. Get rid of one of them and make it all snow storage on one side.
So homes on the odd side of the street have to plow their sidewalk,
No, we
and
would
the
do
even
it.
side
We
doesn't.
would,
Yeah.
we would take it on.
That was for sure.
Oh, oh, because it's across the street.
So I guess, Mike, from your
But-
perspective, you don't like the proposed code changes. That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, for the reasons I stated, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think, I mean, I don't know, seems to me every time I talk to city workers, they got lots to do. And we task them in many ways to do things, like street repairs and whatnot.
I mean, Parks is remodeling the interior of the car wash building right now for parking.
Yeah, so, I
Like,
mean,
that's their projects.
I'm not worried personally about two seasonal workers now becoming full-time and sitting around all winter. I don't think they're gonna sit around all winter. I'm sure
We've
you
got
would love
plenty
to
of
have
work to
them help. So that's something I think would be worth seeing a proposal, in my 1/7 opinion.
Other council members, what thoughts do you have?
I think that if we had, we hired them to work year round, that there would be things for them to do. If only to shovel my driveway. No, but I mean, I think there'd be,
You get that plowed anyways.
we pay to get it plowed.
Tom, does
Unfortunately, Nicholas is too far away. You did right.
Additional 4 months and 2 Bobcats cover the city sidewalks.
Wait, I do want to clarify, that calculation was only based off the additional residential area, not the commercial area.
That's okay, the residential people need stuff too. Not just the business.
Well, in the
district.
commercial district just gets to push it in the street.
Yeah, if they get there early enough, we'll take care of it anyways,
Yeah.
So that's, yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Which is
My
why,
opinion is it's almost a win-win if you were to take those 2 8-month positions and turn them into a year round and utilize them. You got the coverage for a snow event. And you also have more help to remodel all the buildings you guys are buying. You know, we do stay
Yeah.
busy during the winter.
Yeah.
We look at, there's all sorts of projects to do. Interior, regardless if it's, you know, we usually in the Parks Department, every year, we remodel a restroom typically. We didn't have a lot of time this year. At a certain time, we were gonna work on enchantment bathrooms, but that didn't happen. But with the timing of, you know, the lack of snow, we're in the old car wash. Preparing that, because we need to run.
And employee retention would be improved because you now have somebody who has some stability.
If we did that, can we afford that kind of a increase?
Well, I'm
That's
springing
what-
on the ship. I'm
Chantel, I
springing
know.
On Chantel, so she has not had the opportunity to look
Yeah,
at that.
okay, yet to be
Currently in the
determined, yeah. Yet to be determined.
we just finalized the budget.
In the
I'm
audience.
not currently in the budget.
Yeah.
Wrong, right.
Okay.
I just wondered.
Generally, we don't.
Okay, I didn't know.
Mm,
Are there any other thoughts they want to share? I know we have the project tracker still.
well, all of this discussion, what does this look like for next year? If we start kicking this can down the road again, are we gonna go through the same thing next winter and say, let's do it for next winter? Do we need to, what's the timeline for this?
What is your direction? Like, I've heard one opinion. I guess I'm curious, just so that I don't want to waste staff time in looking into this further.
Sure.
What direction would you like us to move forward with?
I think the sidewalks need to be done, number one, right? By resident or by the city or like to be ADA compliant. We're just not compliant as a city. And we're investing in, I think, 8 different corners now with the ADA pads and right with the ramps. We're investing in ADA stuff.
Yeah.
And I think this is an obvious one for us, no town. I mean, I think this is, we have to do this sooner than later. I think
And how
this
do you want
year.
to do it?
Well, I'd like to see, yeah, I'm curious the dollars, right? What 2 people, and if 2 people and 2 Bobcats will cover the city. Will that work? That will cover on a snow event,
Residential,
residential.
yeah.
And then if we don't make the code revisions here and just have it, so we continue like what we're doing in the downtown core. It kind of seems like that.
And then
would be
those
a couple
community
of
nights, we are on the main stage with the disco ball saying, we're gonna do your sidewalks for free as a city. You're welcome. We promote it. This is a give back to the city, I think, right? We're gonna
I
do
don't
your
have a
sidewalk.
sidewalk.
Yeah, some of us don't. Some of us
You can't
don't.
please all the people all the time.
There's a
We're
place
being,
for a
we're
sidewalk,
being
but
treated unfairly.
Oh, forget it. Fine them then. Just leave it there. Let's give people fines.
I feel like we're really stuck because of what Mike and I felt the same way is you're gonna force, I mean, if we hired these positions, we'd also buy 2 more Bobcats, right?
And I think our last
We just
Bobcat was
added one.
$80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We added the one to do the commercial.
Right.
Right. So as we speak now, we're not able to take care of the commercial downtown, even what we've got now, Tom? I mean, as far as,
We don't do
We
it.
don't do it.
we don't do it.
No, because they.
They push it out into the
snow
street.
The street and then they plow it away.
Okay. So
oh, we could do that too.
can that just continue is that a functional system? Or do you just push it out after you guys go by and you come back and get it again?
Yeah, we eventually, we, like they are now, they have the last couple of weeks with, the dump trucks and stuff, we get out there, and we start hauling all the corners and the piles and stuff that we create, and same with Front Street.
Mm-hmm.
We try to, if it's, you have the booths during Christmas lighting, and stuff like that, so it kind of limits, we have the construction this year, Front Street restrooms, yay for that, but, so there's limited storage, when you have that kind of thing going on. And so we kind of just battle the sidewalk and utility, where to put it. And so when we catch up, we can clean up. When it's good enough, we'll come in the next night or 2 or 3 and we'll start hauling it off and moving it,
Okay.
So we're going back and forth, at least the sidewalks. When examples, when I come along the top of the sledding hill, I just put it on the sledding hill for more snow. But then when you come to this year, you have the construction fence that barely get by.
Mhm.
Well, if I put it in on the highway, the DOT just gives it back to us. And so I try to keep it right along the curb and we try to get them, I know we've had discussions with the DOT to get them to slow down when they come through town and build that bike lane a little bit. So,
Mhm.
because, there's no choice.
That's
They want the
a
highway clean and we want the sidewalk clean. And so it gets tougher and tougher. I know on, Mill Mine there where they put those rentals there right alongside the highway. It would be the south side.
Oh, the enchantment lodges?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we used to be able to, that was.
Yeah, that was open lot.
Here, we used to just be able to filter. Well, now you can't. They got their HVAC and mini split. You can't bury it, so now I put that on the highway and they come flying. They get going pretty good speed through there and they try to get as close to the curb as they can. So,
Right.
I know, I don't want to beat this to death, but it's just one of those things you have to keep going over. You go, we'll run the highway and we'll get done and they'll just
Fill it back up.
totally delete
Yeah.
everything that I just spent 3 hours doing. 100% right back to what I just did.
Now,
And that's the frustrating part is, we can say, well, we just plowed it. Well, it doesn't look like it, we'll go back out there and we'll keep plowing. I'll go out there as long as I can during the day. If it's noon, I'll try to go out there. If there's too many people, then obviously
Right.
I'll skip it, but that's
That's
kind of
that's the status right now.
yeah.
last year, It wasn't a big snow. How much do we save when there's not, when Snowmageddon, we spend a lot of dollars on snow removal and contractors. We had nice light snow last year. We saved a lot of money on not doing snow removal, right? And this year has been kind of a light winter. We're saving money, right? By not
Well, I mean,
doing snow.
to some extent, if we're not using a contractor,
Yeah.
it's just our staff time, we don't differentiate.
Yeah, so this, I know, I'm trying to
We
like,
should have an adult, yeah.
yeah, I'm saying like 4 months position of a guy that has a full year position, couple light years, those 4 months are paid for, those 8 months are paid for between those two guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely get your point,
Right?
that makes
Does that
sense.
make sense?
Yeah.
Trading dollars, but yeah.
We never outsourced this up until these last couple of years.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. No, our crews have always handled all of their snow, streets and sidewalks.
Just this past couple of those big years, 22, 23.
Well, we've done, yeah, we've used them on parking lots.
Snowmageddon was the first time we ever outsourced.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Then the subsequent year, we got KRCI to do some parking lots.
Right.
Do a
But
little
we haven't
bit
used a
of-
contractor for streets, not since I've been here.
Yeah,
Well,
this,
because it's on the agenda.
yeah, and so far for 24, which this winter, we haven't. There was a tiny bit that parking used for.
Yeah, we're using a
couple
private
spots.
contractor to plow Horseshoe Lake lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I like what you were saying about,
Yeah, I know partially due to, you know, when we had the snow, we had most of our equipment just broke down. It's old stuff.
yeah.
I mean, we're trying to plow these trucks at.
Right, 1985.
DOT years ago. I mean, so.
That was part of the
It's-
impetus of us buying.
Buying
new
new
plow
plow
trucks.
trucks that are, you know.
And that's
They still haven't come.
There's
They
some
haven't
there.
come yet.
Equipment, because
What's
it just
that?
helps
They haven't
us.
come
No.
No,
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
we were supposed to get them for. the
Turning
winter.
around, go back to the shop and trying to.
As the snow keeps coming down, doesn't stop for you. Yeah.
I don't know, Andy, if we can give you a good answer. I mean, I'm kind of stuck. I mean, Mike's point, and then the money we would take off. I suppose we're headed, if other municipalities are somehow, who are living with snow, are initiating those kind of policies where if you don't get it done, you pay the contractor. But yeah,
I'm conflicted
yeah,
because I'm trying to think long-term about what is the best solution. And right now, we don't have a whole lot more residential sidewalks that need clearing, but we're gonna have some pretty major developments that come into city limits here in the next couple of years that are all gonna have sidewalks. And that's going to really expand this need and the need for a lot more city staff and a lot more machinery. Once the McDevitt development is fully developed and once the new complex in the old, what's it, Meadowlark area.
Well, that's private, so we wouldn't have to do any sidewalks there. We would have to do sidewalks on Autumn Street since it's complete if there's sidewalks on Autumn Street.
There wouldn't be safe streets all the way to a huge apartment complex for kids.
It already is,
Yeah.
actually.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
that's-
Chopsticks,
that's the path,
yeah,
But then,
Chopsticks.
Yeah.
the portions, so I'm sorry, it is really hard to see, but this portion, which I don't even remember, what is this, like phase 2? And then this portion out here is included in the calculation already for the total.
Okay,
So it's more this, what is this, L3, phase 3? I think I didn't include the sidewalk in there because it hasn't been dedicated to us.
so we do have some responsibility in the McDevitt development.
No, we don't,
We don't.
but if we went this option where we did snow removal in the
Oh.
residential, then that's what.
Then we would
is.
obligate
We would be
ourselves.
taking on a lot if we're gonna take on all new sidewalk in the residential.
Okay, Yeah.
well, and we have out by Riverbend too, those city sidewalks that
We
we
do, but most of it's commercial.
don't clear.
It's just the far end of Zelt that is residential. If we keep operating the way we are under the current code where commercial does have to do sidewalk snow removal, it's just residential.
But they don't push it into the street out there, right? So we can't just say because it's commercial, it doesn't count, because the conveniency of having it downtown commercial, not having the city clear it is because the owners can just push it into the street and the city's already pushing it all the way down Ninth. That's not the case out by the Safeway area.
I'm sorry, which, can you say that one more time? You're saying the convenience of the downtown.
So you said, oh, it's commercial, so it doesn't matter. There's only a small little piece of residential out there by Riverbend Drive, but they're not the same because in the downtown core, the owners just push the snow into the street and the city hauls it away versus down by Safeway. That's not the case. We're not hauling it out of
Safeway?
the Zeltstrasse out there.
Yeah, but that's all
Correct.
commercial, right?
But for the current code, that is their responsibility to do versus, what I would say is it's just this portion of the sidewalk that
That's what you're
is
saying,
zoned
yeah.
residential, that we don't have anything in the code about stone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we don't have anything in the code right now about residential sidewalks at all.
Yeah.
Right,
True.
right.
So I guess, I'm sorry, maybe I'm not being clear. I guess that's what I would say, like, it would just be.
No, I know that the code says that the commercial owners have to take care of their own sidewalks. And the convenience of that code is that for most commercial property owners, all they have to do is push it into the street, except for in the Safeway area. They actually have to do something with their snow and pile it on their private property or find a place to put it. Versus the downtown core, they just push it into the street and the city hauls it away. So there's a little bit of inequality there already, right? Because the downtown core doesn't have to find places to put it, they just push it into the street and the city handles it. So even though it's not highlighted red in the downtown core, it kind of should be because all they have to do is shovel it into the street and then it gets hauled away. Versus the other commercial businesses out, commercial properties out by Safeway don't have that opportunity.
It's hard to make it
Right.
there, though. They still have to move their snow off the sidewalk downtown. And if you
Yeah.
have room next to your sidewalk,
But they don't have like a berm really to contend with. They can just push it all out into the street.
yeah.
It's not all, I think that's all buffered. So like, I think there is, well, I'm trying to remember.
And I'm not sure, what's commercial out at Safeway that we have to be
It's like the
responsible?
apartments and Safeway, all the sidewalks.
Well, there's new
by
stuff
Safeway
in there.
and
This-
It's all-
I'm not lying.
the park and ride.
Well, in that Boulder place or whatever that's going out
Yeah,
there.
all the commercial stuff out there.
Yeah, the spa.
The
Yeah,
new
the spa.
hotel,
Aren't they responsible for that themselves?
they are. 'cause it's
Those
been
Front
like that.
Street,
But they can't
Kinda,
push it into the
kinda.
street and have it.
But they have more
hauled by
room than
Oh.
downtown core does though, too.
So, and, Share.
So that's, you think of like down the road because these guys are gonna come in.
city.
Well,
I'm conflicted about all of it.
Yeah,
So this is the other piece too, like, to your point, they do have snow storage area though, so, or
Right.
whoever mentioned that they just need to move it off the sidewalk, it is kind of the same idea here, where there is space to store the snow versus in the downtown core where there isn't.
Mhm.
you're saying they have snow storage, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they have that
Yeah,
little,
space.
Storage space.
they have that little
between,
buffer area,
right there.
the stormwater.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I know
So-
we've already got.
We're gonna have to wrap it up and well, I mean, like she was saying, this wasn't for this year
Right.
anyway, and we'll just keep going until we can get it hammered out and find out the cost
Yeah.
of what you're proposing, or at least 1/7 of you.
Let's keep studying it. No, I agree with Mike. I want to
Yeah.
I want to keep studying this and I want to know what the associated costs are.
And it sounds like, okay, so my takeaway is find out the staffing and equipment costs,
Right,
how that fits into the budget. Stop pushing the code revisions down your throat. Are those my accurate takeaways?
I'm not opposed to the code revisions, but I don't think we're there yet. I think that we still need to continue to have more discussions and we need more information. I'm not saying no to the code revisions, but I think we need to have all of the information before we can decide what the best path is.
Perfect.
I would agree with Ann.
And I think, and you brought up the other good point is that you start down that path of saying, okay, we add a couple, but it might be continuing to add if we're gonna start down that path, you're gonna have to keep it up too. So
Right,
there's that.
yeah, once we develop the expectation
Yeah,
that the
Then
city is doing
it's-
all
yeah.
sidewalks, we're not gonna back out of that at
Right.
some point.
so it's a bigger commitment long-term than the couple that we're talking about now.
right, it's gonna get a bigger commitment out of it.
But we can give you, a picture of what that might look like.
Before we take a
Yowzer.
break.
Yes.
According to your rules, three of you need to agree to study session topics in order for us to add them, unless the mayor or staff puts them on there. We've had two private entities request to come and speak with you. We just wanted to make sure you guys wanted to hear from them. One was the farmers market. They'd like to come and give an update about last year's season and also to discuss some potential code requests. So potential code amendments they would like you to entertain. One related to business licenses for some of the vendors and the other one related to the sale of alcohol in the park. Are there three of you that would like to entertain the farmers market at a future study session?
What
Yeah,
does that mean, entertainment?
Have them come and
Oh.
talk about it at a study session.
Another one was I received an email out of the blue from someone wondering what the city has done to add the Squaw name to our welcome signs,
say that again.
the native tribe.
Scosa.
Oh,
The
Squaw.
Squaws, yeah. So I said, nothing's been done because it's the first I've heard of it.
Mhm.
And apparently this was brought up at an event that happened at ICCA, I think. And I reached out to Troy at the chamber and he said the Cascade School District has also requested to be added to our welcome signs. I have thoughts about this, but before we invite the person who's requested this and would like to discuss it with the council, I want to see if there are three of you who'd like to invite this person to a future study session to discuss this.
To discuss the.
I would be willing
post
for a
stuff line?
presentation.
And
To discuss,
Okay,
adding the
schedule.
Scosa
okay.
welcome.
Thank you.
I had a topic I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
I would like remember the discussion we had on the evacuation of the 13th Street space? That was gonna be, people wanted to use it to build,
Oh, yeah.
Affordable homes.
Vacation.
right,
Yeah.
vacation, I guess that's what, vacation.
Oh, okay.
So, there's a big push in this town for green spaces. And every single letter that was sent to us around that area requested a green space. I would propose that the city consider making that a green space, that we start a study or whatever about how we can turn that into what's the feasibility, turning that space into a green space, since we need it. And it's
Well, you're
desired.
talking about a park space then.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's green now.
right, okay, so,
Right, yeah,
right,
but a
parks,
park.
green space / park space, right? And I would propose we have a discussion at feasibility.
Have you seen it?
I've been down there, yeah. So you got this,
Jagged and what do you
Well,
envision? What do you envision?
so I would envision that we somehow, can
Well,
we?
let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's not, we don't have time now. We gotta take a break and.
Yeah, I think it's
but
fine. Yeah.
I think
we can put it on
somehow you
the
re-landscape.
It leads into the path. It's a great
Right.
intro to the, yeah.
We can definitely add that to an agenda.
Yeah,
Okay,
I agree. 1, 2.
all right.
I
let's take
agree too.
a quick break and we'll come back for our regular.
oh, really?
Garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I call the meeting to order for the January 28th Leavenworth City Council meeting. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. Mike, you want to get us started? Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deputy-
Shane, I should have had you leading it.
I asked Andrea, but she didn't answer me. I didn't know if I was supposed to or not.
Oh, roll call.
List,
Sharon Waters.
Ann Hesberg.
Zeke Reister,
Travis McMaster.
Mike Bedard.
And,
Shane Thayer.
hey,
pledge of allegiance, man.
I would entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Strahan from this meeting as requested.
So moved.
Second,
Those in favor? Passes unanimously. All right, consent agenda. We need to add an item. Action item number 18, That's the one that we discussed about the grants for the sewer project that needs to happen. So that would come at the end of our action items. Would be number 18. The other, just to let you know that with the committee, my committee assignments, Zeke did take on the museum, so we've got all of our assignments then with that. Just let you know that that one would be filled in there too, so.
Unless somebody else really is dying for it. I mean,
Well, so far there
Nobody
was
has
three
done it.
people that says
okay,
that I really, and I appreciate that people weren't wanting to let that one go, so that there was interest in saying, yeah, we don't want it to go unfilled. So thank you, Zeke, for
Yep.
stepping in. So with those two additions, I would entertain a motion to approve the modified consent agenda.
so moved.
Second,
Zeke moved and Sharon seconded. All those in favor, let me see your hand. And it passes unanimously. Comments from the public on items not on the agenda. Do you have anything, Ron?
Hold your peace.
Is there anybody online?
Yeah, Kervil Skinnerland is online. I can allow her to talk.
Is she asking? Okay, Kerbal?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, good evening. I'm Carol Skinnerland, 510 Dempsey Road in Leavenworth. I wanted to bring up an issue I'm a little confused about, and that is what steps the council is taking to follow up on the input you received from the community visioning meetings and the written survey. Unless I've missed it, there doesn't seem to have been a thorough discussion of what you heard and its implications for making decisions about the goals and priorities for the future of our community. Hundreds of people attended the meetings and slightly over 1,200 people answered the written survey. In fact, the written comments to the open-ended questions were 85 pages long. I know the input was gathered in part to help inform the upcoming revisions to the comprehensive plan, but I think this data has broader implications for many of the issues that come before you. I also think it's important that residents see some tangible evidence that you've listened to them and are taking their feedback seriously. So I'd like to request that the city council set aside about an hour and a half or 2 hours at an upcoming study session for a thorough review and discussion of results, along with a discussion of how this information either modifies or confirms the direction the city is taking on the many issues it faces. Thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns.
All right.
Thanks, Kerbal.
Thank you, Kervil.
Anybody else online?
Nope.
All right. We'll move on then to the public safety report, and we have Corporal Lake.
Good evening, how are you?
Great, how are you doing?
Not too bad. So December, we closed out with 1,001 hours, mostly for the Festival Lights, and then 87 hours of foot patrol. So that gave us a total for the year of 9,698 hours and 621 on foot patrol. And 5 weekends of manned lighting weekends, and I understand 6 coming up next year. It was fairly uneventful, kind of.
Beyond the event?
Pardon me?
Beyond the event?
Beyond the event.
There was a little bit. I think we discussed at the last meeting that I was able to attend about the an accidental discharge from a citizen that we weren't able to contact and completely confirm that happened, but no injuries, nowhere that may have struck. There was it seems like there might have been a little bit of a shoplifting ring running around one weekend. Also a little ring of counterfeiters running around. I think at least
Really?
one,
Yeah.
at least
Like
one of
that.
those was identified and followed up on. I think the art thief was identified, if I'm not incorrect. And then, of course, the most notable are malicious mischief, reckless driving incident that does have the extraditable warrant issued for his arrest. He was able to make it out of town and back to Texas.
So Randy, where's the status on that? Is it just in limbo, or Texas is making a decision, or do we know?
At this point, yeah, there's some discussion going on who would be responsible on covering the charges if he's extradited back.
So does that look like that'll get resolved, or just kind of hung out to dry? Or, I mean, I don't know. Do we have any sense of where that's going?
It's up at discussion right now. I haven't I touched base with the sheriff today, and I'll be following up on that.
Okay.
Chelan County
then-
DA's decide.
It's
Pardon
really
me?
the prosecuting attorney at this point.
That's who makes the final call.
That's
Yeah,
who
that's what I
makes
thought.
the extradition call, is between them, and that's my understanding, is between our prosecuting attorney and the one in Texas.
Correct. They did, our prosecuting attorney did issue, I believe, the extraditable warrant.
Right.
And he
Essentially,
was charged
By
with a
speeding
felony.
ticket, they'll take him in. And then a bigger decision will be made, from what I understand.
He's got a warrant sitting out there,
Yeah.
so he's not gonna be able to do much.
Yeah.
Right, with that sitting there, so he's not getting off scot-free whether he ever comes back here or not, because that's sitting out there.
Yeah.
So.
Correct.
you're-
The warrant is out there, and at the bare minimum, we can go after him civilly and hopefully recoup some money. It's just whether or not he would actually be brought back if he's arrested.
Will he have to pay the money for the damage that he did? Regardless of whether he comes back?
If it gets stopped.
That would be up to the courts. I'm still in this, trying to touch bases with the prosecutors and stuff on that.
One last question, I guess, is that so the warrant only operates if he comes back into the state or back into the county. Is that right?
Yeah. we
No,
can't
it's an
prosecute.
extraditable warrant.
But could you say that again, Randy?
It's an extraditable warrant.
Okay,
So if
that-
he's contacted down there, if they do it like we do here, he would be like, say their local law enforcement contacts him, they'd notify him that there's an extraditable warrant. They'd contact back up here, see if we would confirm that he would be extradited or not. So we need to figure out who's going to be responsible for paying for that, and if that is a go or not.
okay, all right.
Did I say?
I have two questions. One, there was 13 traffic offenses. Kind of wondered, what were those, just car rear-ending another car
Traffic offenses?
or speeding or?
Yeah, they could be anything from speeding to suspended to that reckless driving that he was charged with, to DUIs.
So the traffic offenses that are on your list here, there are 13 of them. What were they mainly?
I'm not sure. I don't have my computer in front of me to look each of them up individually.
Oh, okay. I also have a question about the 16 trespasses. What kind of things were those? Trespassing where?
Again, I don't have my computer to look them up individually. Those
Okay.
would be, say, a hotel that has somebody there that they want them trespassed, Safeway that maybe has a shoplifter that wants them trespassed, a bar that they have somebody and they don't want them coming back. It could be a residence. So any property that somebody has somebody there and they don't want them coming back, we go back and trespass them. Say Safeway has a shoplifter and they want them trespassed and don't want them to come back. And then if they do come back and they trespass and they're also committing another theft, we would actually upgrade that to a burglary.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Randy.
Thank you. You all have a good evening.
Yeah,
Randy, thanks.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
I don't see Mike there.
Nope.
Is he there? Nope. Heidi? Okay, we will move on then. We'll move on to our action items. Again, just a reminder to be respectful to each other, acknowledge it's okay to disagree. Any comments made will be made to after being recognized by the chair and addressed to the council as a whole, not to individuals. And keep comments focused on the topic that is discussed. So we will go to action item number 12. And that is Andrea.
I'm gonna sit here today. So this is the council rules and I've incorporated everything that we've discussed. If you guys read through it, and you have any additional questions?
I just wrote in one spot, under B, at the bottom last line, starting with the mayor, I wrote clunky sentence.
Oh, it's a clunky sentence.
From the public or in attendance, in person or through Zoom. Subject to such time limitations as the mayor or presiding officer deems necessary.
So how would you like me to make it better?
Well, let me see, let me read it.
Okay.
The mayor presenting the office. Says order and length of time for individual public comments to 3 minutes. Okay, so up to 3 minutes. Person, where's the mayor? I guess I thought it should maybe have a comma after necessary, that whereas in quotes, and a quote, or not a quote, what's that called? Parenthesis.
Oh, parentheses.
Yeah, parenthesis, comma, and then when you get to ensure that all who wish to comment are heard, a parenthesis.
Okay. I can sure do that.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions or concerns? Changes?
Do we want to talk about attendance at the autumn leaf parade?
Andrea had a.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Because we've kind of been skirting around it
Yeah.
and I'm not exactly sure where to put it.
I didn't either. So
here's her thought.
I thought about it for a good long time. This was like a weekend and a half of me thinking. So I think what we'll do is we'll post it as a special meeting. And you need to request permission to be absent from a special meeting. Because if you are all going to be there, it would be considered a quorum, so I would have to post it as a special meeting anyway. So I think that would
Even
be-
just walking around in the public right of way,
you might,
because we're not,
you
in
might
a
be
meeting
discussing
facility.
city business. We don't know what you're doing.
I wouldn't walk with these people. You can run the carriage. please.
some of them are lucky enough to be in the carriage.
Somebody gets in the
Zeke
carriage.
and I only are just relegated to walking.
It's not for that.
But I would have to post it as a special meeting if all of you were anticipated to attend.
Well, we could put it in section 22 then, just about city council attendance.
Yeah.
We could, yeah.
Because then it just says, I mean, because it would take, if it's gonna be a public meeting,
Mhm.
then people would just have to request an absence
Explain,
permit
that's what
anyway.
she's
Yeah.
saying. It would be a meeting that you would need to request
Permission not to attend.
to not to attend. It would have to be an excused absence and.
But we
you'd have
probably
have
need
a
to
reason.
not just be silent about it.
I can put it in there.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it would be a special event that would then become a public meeting. Right?
Yeah, I can put that in.
So I have a proposed amendment to this or an edit. In section 22, as you said, city council.
Just a second.
Yeah.
I didn't butt in, but I'm with the Royal Ladies. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm,
You're still in
You're
the
still
parade.
You're still in the parade.
oh, I'm in the,
You're still in the
you're
parade.
still
Yeah, you're in
being
the
in the
parade.
parade.
We-
Okay,
Just being in the parade because it's our
You're-
our
you're
event.
okay, I get
You
it.
sat on the side this time.
That's where we all sat.
I know, but you always were in it.
Usually we're in the
Yeah,
wagon.
exactly.
That wasn't this year.
So we could simply just say, city council members are expected to attend all meetings of the city council, comma, and the Autumn Leaf Festival, comma, unless excused.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that, or
Okay.
I'll make that
Okay.
change.
I know the May parade isn't part of isn't our event, but it's always enjoyable to walk. I mean, it was just Carl and I and Troy, but can we add that? No,
No.
that's too much.
Right.
yes.
That's
And
not
we're adding
something that we
that-
specifically fund. We fund the audit.
And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
with that logic, we fund a lot of things.
Well, but
Anyways.
this one is,
And also the reason we have the Bavarian theme
yeah,
was
it
the
was
Autumn Leaf Festival.
official,
Was what kicked everything off.
I understand that.
mentioned in our
City government.
whatever. What's it mentioned in?
Required to-
Yeah, it's a code.
I think stepping one up to the autumn leaf is.
So I would entertain a motion to pass this as amended with those two amendments.
River City Council moves to approve resolution 01-2025, council policy, procedures, and rules of conduct as amended.
Second,
Moved by Shane, seconded by Ann. Any other discussion? All those in favor, let me see your hand. It passes unanimously. Item 13 is also,
I didn't raise my hand.
Travis didn't raise his hand.
oh, you didn't?
No. Did you look around to make the
Yeah.
vote?
What, do you have your hand on your eye?
No, we were fully down here. It was-
Opposed? Is that an
One opposed?
abstention?
Are you opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay,
Okay, well, then one opposed. Sorry, Travis. Action Resolution 02-2025, Andrea.
Okay, this is my meeting room policy. Do you guys have any questions or concerns with this?
Just a second, I'm still trying to catch up.
Okay,
Yes, I do.
okay,
I still don't like the, our, groups like Mend or, these kinds of groups, nonprofits, to pay to, rent the room. I think if they do damage or something, that's one thing, but if they come in, because they're trying to raise money for events. And so for some of them, that's about $25 is a chunk. Especially if, you figure.
Mhm.
For
But
the year.
they can apply for the Leavenworth Fund and that money can be used towards that if they wanted to,
If they got it, yeah,
if they got it, yeah.
okay.
But I did change it to per event as opposed to per hour.
Per
so,
hour.
That was
The
good.
rest of them were per hour, they're just per event.
Yes.
And that was from feedback at the last discussion.
Anything else?
that $25 is just for cleanup, right?
Yeah, it's mainly,
Well, it's for
Office time.
my time,
Yeah,
yeah.
your time.
because
She has
I
to
have
stay.
to
Yeah,
3
be
hours.
around.
Well, maybe if it's after a certain hour, then if you have to be
Well, then it
around,
goes
that's
up.
one thing.
That goes up.
But
Yeah.
if it's during the day,
Well, if it's during the day, it's $25 for the day, and then if it's after hours, then it goes to $50 for that event, so. Cause I have to stay late too.
I know. Not in favor.
The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve resolution 02-2025, public meeting room policies and application.
Second.
moved by Mike, seconded by Travis. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, let me see your hands. I see you this time, Travis. Now it passes you now.
No.
Oh, no, it
Karen
didn't.
didn't raise
I'm
her
sorry.
hand.
See, I looked right over you.
all these other votes. It's two in a row.
Opposed? Yes, okay. We had one opposed, that was Sharon. Okay, Maggie, approval of 2025 Planning Commission docket.
Yes, thank you. So the city council tonight is being asked to accept the 2025 planning commission docket as prioritized during the joint meeting with the planning commission during the January 14th meeting. And this docket will be re-reviewed. In June, we'll have another joint meeting. So this can be amended later in the year, but this would be, I would be asking tonight for the council to accept it as drafted.
Question, Maggie, has there been any movement on the Nexus study as far as setting that up?
I just finished reviewing my first round of RFQs for a different project, so this will be my next
So
one.
it's on, now it's
It
the
is-
top of the
It is
list.
on the top of the list.
All right. Getting an update.
Yep, I'll give you an update. Yeah, I should have a good update for you next.
Okay.
The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve the 2025 Planning Commission docket.
Second.
Oh, I
And
like his
moved
today.
and actually Travis seconded before you got in. Shane.
Just because of internet.
You're on a lag, Shane.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Gotta
that's
try
my
tonight.
internet.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? All right, I'm gonna watch everybody's hand this time. All those in favor, let me see your hand. I see a finger.
Sharon's being sneaky.
I know. That one passed unanimously by a fingernail.
One little finger.
Okay. Change order number 1 to the parking kiosk installation, Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, in June of last year, you approved the purchase, delivery, programming, and installation of 43 multi-spot parking kiosks for $268,000. And thank you. I mean, thank you so much, because the on-street meters were so problematic and we had so many complaints. And these kiosks we have zero complaints. They're very easy to use. They're multilingual. They provide a receipt. They do all the things that we need them to do. And at the time when we asked for your approval, we believed that we were going to be installing all the concrete pads to mount these on in-house. But it turned out that we ended up needing to hire the contractor to install the pads to put the kiosks on. So that resulted in an additional $62,300 for the kiosk project so now I'm asking you to amend that for a total project cost of $330,308.25.
And this is all,
Done.
yep, I mean, like,
The work's already completed and it gets paid by the parking fund.
the parking fund pays for it.
Yeah, parking.
This is all parking.
That represents about 1% of our revenues from 24.
Okay,
Leavenworth City Council moves to accept the construction bid and authorize the mayor to execute a contract with K.
Oh, no, that's the wrong one.
Wrong one.
Let's just lump them all together.
There you go.
The Leavenworth City, let me strike that,
50.
begin again. The Leavenworth City Council moves to approve the purchase and installation of 43 kiosks, including the installation of concrete pads in kiosk locations for an amount not to exceed $330,308.25.
Second.
Yeah, still didn't make it, Shane. Sharon beat you.
No.
There's a delay.
You want to ask if there's any more questions? Sorry.
Yeah, you got another question?
No, I want to make a comment that thank you for making that move so quickly from the parking meters to the kiosks. I mean, it wasn't 5 years, it wasn't 3 years, it was like immediate, and we've already reaped those benefits. It was
Yes,
amazing.
we have.
And the satisfaction rating with everybody, the community, me walking down the sidewalks and having people block the sidewalks, like to standing around, the amount of time that people have spent on them and the frustration they've had. It's kiosk, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
All right, any other questions, comments? All those in favor, let me see your hands. And it's 2, passes unanimously. Okay, number 16, Andy, on-call utility repair bid.
Yeah, the council is being asked to consider awarding the 2025 on-call utility repair contract. This is a contract that we've had for, remember it's last year or the last 2 years where we put out an annual contract. And really the goal here is when we have utility leaks and issues that come up that exceed what our shoring and trench boxes can handle, that we have a contract who comes in who can prepare those. So this year, we ended up receiving 2 bids. We pushed out to 6 contractors off the Small Works roster. And our lowest responsive bidder was KRCI. They were our same contractor from last year. And their total for this contract was $37,102. And they did want to point out that this cost doesn't include sales tax. Part of that is because we have work that takes place in the county and in the city because our utilities span both. Therefore, we've just pulled sales tax off this total, and they will be paid sales tax for any of the work that they do under this on-call contract. And similar to both this, the on-call utility and the on-call snow removal we have, these are work order systems that we issue under these. And so we would reach out to KRCI. They're required to respond within 24 hours and provide all the labor and equipment requested. And then we have specific bid items set up in the contract to just then pay them for that work. So I'm here if you have any questions.
So since sales tax is backed out of this amount that you're asking us to approve, ultimately it would just require an amendment once we know what the total would be if there are contracts against this.
We don't have a not to exceed on this, and so that is how we do consultant contracts different from contractor contracts. This just has a dollar amount that this contract is for, and that's ultimately binding us to the unit prices that we have. But we wouldn't need an amendment from you. We just pay sales tax on top of the bid items that we agree to in this contract.
So they're giving us are their rates.
There, yeah.
And every project could use different time for each one of those or whatever, so, but. All right, I would entertain a motion.
Whenever city council moves to accept the construction bid and authorize the mayor to execute a contract with KRCI, LLC for 2025 on-call utility repair in the amount of $37,000, $37,102.
Hey,
Second.
you got it, Shane. Moved by Sharon, seconded by Shane. Any other questions?
Oh, dear.
Seeing none, all those in favor, let me see your hand. And again, unanimous. And again, Andy, on-call snow removal.
Thank you, Mayor. This project is really similar to the on-call utility repair, but for snow removal. And one of the main reasons we're putting this out again, I highlighted it in here, we don't have a mechanic right now. And we still are running with our older plow trucks since we haven't taken delivery of the ones. Last year, we didn't use the on-call snow removal contract, and the year before, as Chantal and Sylvie mentioned, we only used it to remove snow piles in parking lots. But it is just another resource that we have, so if issues come up and we're not able to get timely repair of our equipment, we have another means. So on this project, we received 2 bids as well, and Hearst Construction. I don't remember if they're in East Wenatchee or Wenatchee was the lowest responsive bidder.
Who is that?
Hearst Construction,
Kurtz?
Hearst
First.
H.
with an H.
Oh, Hurst.
How much? Yeah, $85,150.
Leavenworth City Council moves to accept the construction bid and authorize the mayor to execute a contract with Hearst Construction LLC for 2024-2025 on-call snow removal in the amount of $85,152.44.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Sharon. Any other questions? Comments? All those in favor, let me see your hand. Again, passes unanimously. And then 18 is the one we just added, so. Me again.
And 1 second, I'm just answering a question for Chantal. It does have tax, but there's 2 different schedules. One if it's on the city street. Since we don't pay it.
So it's not in addition like the other one, it'll just be included.
It's included. Okay. So the last item, like we talked about in the study session, is for the contract with Brella. for the phase 3, priority 1 project. I'm here if you have any additional questions.
And I would entertain a motion.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute amendment number 5 to the wastewater collection and treatment facility improvement owner engineer agreement with Varela and Associates Incorporated, increasing the not to exceed amount to $3,496,620 pending legal counsel and USDA RD approval.
Second.
Moved by Zeke, seconded by Travis. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, let me see your hands. Again, passes unanimously. And we are at council reports. Sharon?
Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, on February 20th, I attended the mosquito board meeting. We discussed software for a treatment tracking app and 2025 wages for the workers that are out there spraying for mosquitoes and options for new cell phones for the field staff. On February 21st, I attended the community dinner at the United Methodist Church. It's free. It's always good. You're all welcome. February 23rd, I went for the first time to the Housing Advisory Board and was really surprised by how much conversation there was about just about anything you could think of. It was quite interesting, and they really cover a lot of ground, and Zeke is on this committee, so I'm sure he'll be reporting. February 24th, I went to the hearing for a new B&B on Evans Street. It's always interesting meeting. The hearing examiner, Mr. Kottkamp, has been doing this for a long time, and I find it quite interesting to listen to his questions, and he never makes a decision afterwards. It's like 10 days later or something. February 27th, which was last night, there was a 3-hour Chelan Douglas Health District meeting. This was the first meeting of the year, and there are some new faces on the board, so extra time was taken to bring them up to speed through the meeting. In the beginning of each meeting, there's a time for public comment, just like here, and it's usually a 10-minute time frame. But last night, it took 30 minutes, and everybody that's there that comes to speak, literally without exception, is requesting that the health department do not offer shots, do not offer any information to anybody about COVID. A lot of their research comes from foreign countries. That's not meant to be a bad thing, but it comes from foreign countries, and they have been doing this for over a year at every meeting. And then today I attended the Downtown Steering Committee, which is, I think, my favorite downtown steering committee of all. And I'm sure Selby's got a report on that. And so that's it. Thanks for listening.
All right. Yeah.
On the 16th, I attended the parking committee meeting. We had some pretty awesome financial statistics for year end. Shannon ran us through all of our parking finances for 2024. We came out well above budget and grossed.
On the revenue side.
What's that?
On the
revenue side, yes, and grossed over $3 million with parking in 2024, which is impressive. And a lot of that has to do with our parking lot expansions. We've added a fair number of parking lots that we're now regulating, as well as the expansion of the Glacier parking lot. And now that that is a paid lot and it has it's asphalted and has stalls, it's definitely generating some revenue for the city as well. And the kiosks have made it a whole lot easier for people to pay for parking on the street and in the And they're already used to using those kiosks in the parking lots. And that has actually reduced the number of violations that we've been seeing since those kiosks were installed. So we have reduced revenue for the month of December for violations, which we see as a positive because people aren't getting caught in the, I can't use the meter and I don't know how to pay for parking sort of situation, which is great. So lots of great stuff there with the parking committee. And we finalized the parking study. So that's complete. We're gonna have a booth at the community engagement night. And we're now working through the parking study projects that were listed in there, starting to prioritize what we're gonna start working on based off of what staff capacity also has, what Shannon and her team can work on. Last week I attended the Lake Transit Board meeting, and I volunteered to be a part of one of the board's new subcommittees, to put together their first ever strategic plan. So this whole year I will be working with a couple of other board members to put together a Lake Transit strategic plan, which will be a fun adventure. Leavenworth blew the ridership numbers out of the water for the month of December for Link Transit.
Good.
Particularly with our new shuttle that runs through town. That had been hovering between like 1,500 and 2,000 riders per month. And for the month of December, it was almost 10,000.
Wow.
Oh.
Which means that we have visitors parking further away,
Further away,
using our
the
shuttle, which is exactly what we want, right?
Yeah.
And so that was huge, because usually it's between Leavenworth and Chelan, their system. You know, Leavenworth is usually like 2,000 riders a month higher than Chelan, and we were like over 10,000 riders more, because we have more integrated routes now for Leavenworth with the shuttle, with our express, and with our standard Route 22. So we've got a lot of great numbers here in Leavenworth, which is great. And it's still free. And it's not gonna be anything but free, so it's great for the public.
Wow. Okay.
Right, see.
On Thursday, the 23rd of January, I attended the Housing Advisory Committee. And it was hard to pick up steam. This is one of the benefits, was that Maggie and Celeste joined us as permanent members to kind of help us with organization and what can be done. We have a lot of ideas. Essentially, they want to come before the council during a study session. And 3 areas they're kind of working in is working with the development of Matt Melton with the smaller homes that are going out there. What do you call it?
Cottage housing.
Cottage house.
Cottage housing. And also, we want to determine if what's left of the Rattlesnake property in the North Slope, Rattlesnake Hill, if there's a feasibility for that to be developed into affordable housing, or at least houses, a house site. Initially, we had, I believe, up there on that, and I keep hearing that there's a hillside, but actually, if you walk up there, and I took pictures of it, it's like, I don't see the hillside once you're up.
Behind you.
Yeah, so anyway, I think we have at least 2 acres. We had 2 acres, 2.9 acres up there. Now a slice has been taken out because of the traffic and the street coming through to connect with the North Road, but we still have some buildable land up there. So we're exploring feasibility of that. And there's some other things we're going to talk about to the council when they get a chance, but I'll just leave it at that for now. So good discussion, good ideas. It's a highly energized group, and they really want to make something happen as far as affordable housing in our city. So that's I wasn't able to attend the exciting downtown steering committee meeting, so I'm anxiously waiting for Selby's Summary, so that is my report.
Quick.
You wanna go next, Selby?
No.
Okay, I'm on pins and needles here. I February or January 16th attended the parking committee and did an amazing job recapping, good stuff. I am now not on the economic development committee. I'm on the finance committee. I look forward to that. I think we got things kind of wrapped up for this year, sounds like, but I look forward to the finance committee. That's it.
This morning I attended the riveting downtown steering.
Would you like to give an in-depth report?
I don't want to steal your thunder.
No.
It was interesting. It was my first meeting. I guess I was one meeting early since I wasn't officially assigned till tonight, but I went anyways, and it was a good learning experience for me, and I'm looking forward to contributing on a not official capacity. I think it's interesting to experience some of our partners' operations as an end user, and I witnessed a hit and run incident in my neighborhood last week, and I guess my expectation was that it wouldn't be taken very seriously, by the sheriff as a kind of low priority. But I want to give kudos to our sheriff's office. They came out and they took it seriously, and it turned out it was a visitor who backed into a local contractor's truck. I saw it. I told her I saw it and alerted her, and she decided it was something she didn't need to deal with, so she drove away. And the sheriffs have tracked her down, and they followed up with me, and they were super professional and very attentive to the gentleman whose truck was hit. And so I was very impressed. So I wanted to give them a public kudos for job well done.
Yes.
That's it.
Great. Shane.
Yeah, I attended a meeting with the Upper Valley Aquatic Boosters on January 16th. They're going to be formalizing the group more, and will be electing a board with subcommittees to help focus their areas of efforts, which include supporting the current pool and researching options for developing a year-round pool in the future. And that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. Just real quickly, last week, I was not at the housing committee meeting because I was in Olympia. The mayor's exchange, but I was also there with Blake to call on our three legislators. And as you know, two of the priorities were capital related. One is getting the rest of the road punched through there over with the project there up between Titus and Chumstick. We're putting in a request there, and we got the paperwork already done.
Yeah, Kit was
Back and turned in, so that was one, and then the other was putting in for help with the Osborne conversion into the library space and community space, and so that's also again a capital. The transportation one is impacted by the big budget deficits that you've all probably heard about, but the capital project is still the least impacted and still will be a hefty. And we've got Representative Steele representing the representative. There's representatives and senators from both parties that do that collaboratively. So it's one of the few that is done in a bipartisan way. And we've got good representation on that. So yeah, we've made, again, that request as well. And then there's a number of housing bills. Interestingly, I don't know if you've heard, but one of the things that was done in the House was to take away the 2/3 requirement to end a filibuster. So now it just takes a simple majority to end a filibuster. And if you recall, that was the filibuster that killed the housing bill that we wanted last year. And so maybe that same bill will get introduced again this year. So we may have some hope to see some, and that one in particular was short-term rental. Charges on short-term rentals versus the hotel motels. So there's still a possibility of some kind of fee on those, but yeah, we're watching many bills. Another one is a proposal to take retail, an excise tax on sales. That currently, I mean, there's only one county that can do it for housing right now, and that is the San Juans. Because they had done a conservation one, and only ones that had done a conservation could add a housing. So there is a bill to take off that prohibition to other counties, that if they want to, it would have to be passed by the county residents, but they could collect 0.5% on all sales that would go to fund workforce housing. So we'll see if that, it made it out of committee on a bipartisan vote. So that one looks hopeful. Again, that's another one that would be controlled at the county level. So we'd be, again, one of many competing for those dollars, but there's still opportunity for us to get some that we would direct as well. So anyway, that's my report.
Well, the news you've all been waiting for is that there was a downtown steering committee.
What happened? What happened? It was the best ever.
I'm not really certain
What that was.
I didn't take any notes from today. It was kind of a free form discussion. We followed the agenda very loosely. We didn't have an update from SOMAS. We discussed bollards and pedestrian protection quite a lot. Sandwich boards.
Ooh, did you talk about
Sandwich
electric
board signs.
bollards?
Well, they're not sandwich board signs. They're A-frame signs or temporary signs. Sandwich board signs have a person in the middle. Oh, that's a sandwich board. An A-frame is a freestanding that looks like an A. I know we use these terms, but they actually do have meaning. We use them interchangeably, but they are different. So there was a lot of discussion about A-frame signs, lively discussion about A-frame signs. And I think Maggie's going to speak with the chamber about the A-frame signs before she brings this up to the council for a discussion. We discussed these signs since I've been here, probably 2 years ago.
It was lively in a, let's have more signs, or it was lively against, or it was both?
Oh, it was just a lively discussion about the pros and cons of signs. So.
Yeah.
It's a circular
What else
conversation.
stuck out in your mind, Sharon? It was the best meeting you've been to.
It really was. Well, everybody there, was very verbal, spoke a lot about,
I know what it was. We had a really nice visitor, a gentleman, Matt, can't remember his last Shaw. He's an arborist.
Yes.
And he came to speak for the trees. I'm gonna call him the Lorax. And he's concerned about our downtown trees. He thinks that, and I agree with him, and we brought up to SOMAS at our kickoff meeting, that some of these trees are probably at the end of their maturity. And we need to think carefully, if we're gonna continue to light up the downtown the way we have traditionally, about succession planning for the trees. And he really wants to see a focus as we're redoing the pedestrian area on the trees and give them room to breathe. And he was actually saying, yeah, I think this one was doing great, and this one's probably getting overwatered because it's in the lawn. And so he had some really interesting thoughts. And I encouraged him to come to the fest hall on February 27th between 8:30 and 11. The downtown business owners and property owners, not the community as a whole, but the downtown business owners and property owners are being invited to the fest hall to meet with the design team and to have dialogue about the downtown project. So I encouraged him. I know he's neither a business owner nor property owner, but he does have some good knowledge about what trees work well in our climate, because he's been doing this work for a long time. So I encouraged him to attend that and speak with the landscape architects from SOMAS. Anything else from the downtown steering committee that stuck out?
I guess it just felt, everybody had a lot to say, everybody talked a lot. And just hearing I can't think of his name, what different people had to say. It just kind of flowed and wasn't stiff and clunky. It was just kind of a really nice meeting.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
In addition to the lobbying efforts that the mayor mentioned, I was reached out by a woman who's working with the Sierra Club there in their wildlife committee. They are trying to find a sponsor for a bill that would, if it's approved, if it's passed, would provide us in North Bend with the resources required to become a truly bear-wise community. So she was reaching out for numbers. What would it take for Leavenworth to become bear-wise? And we had a nice discussion about this. I gave them an estimate of what it would cost to provide all of our residences with bear-proof containers, what it would cost to have bear-proof containers for the commercial district. We can't just go out and replace all of our 300-gallon totes with bear-proof 96-gallon totes because there's not enough room in our alleys where we service our trash. If you go outside and look, you'll look at the footprint of a 300-gallon and you look at a 96-gallon bear-wise next to it, and the 300-gallon is not 3 times the footprint as a 96-gallon. It's probably 1.5 times the footprint. So we just don't have what we need is for Kodiak Products to get their patent approved for their bear-proof 300-gallon tote. And we estimated that would be about a $750,000 cost to have all of our commercial totes converted to bear-proof. We also discussed ordinances, and we're going to be bringing some of this to your attention in a study session in the future about things that we as a city can do to become more bear-wise. What else? On February 18th, the fire district is going to be doing some firefighting drills at the Osborne. I just set that date today. We will be communicating to the neighborhood to let them know that there's not an emergency. They're doing drills in the Osborne. They're not going to be burning anything. They're not going to be spraying any water anywhere. They're not destroying anything. They're mainly doing search and rescue training in the Osborne.
What was that date again?
It's going to be February 18th. And they've got a second night that they want to do it, but that date has not yet been confirmed.
Cool. See, and the wildfire preparedness workshop, we know that this is at the top of people's minds with the LA fires. We've heard a lot about it, a lot of scuttle in the community about what the city's not doing. So we're gonna have Chelan County Fire 3, Chelan County Emergency Management, and the U.S. Forest Service at a minimum come here. We did a workshop related to this in August of 23. We had a workshop with the town of Medical Lake in August of 24, and now we're doing this in 25. And that'll be from 5 to 7 on Wednesday, April 9th. Mark your calendars. Yep, that's it.
All right. Chantel?
Just a quick one for you guys. Books are closed. I did email you links as well as the attached PDF of the financial report. If you didn't get it, please let me know. If you have questions, give me a call. I would call out pages 37 through 41 of the report are documents that you only see once a year. So go ahead and take a look at those and let me know if you have any questions in particular. January is the busiest time of the month for finance because we have been running 2 different years at the same time. Now that the year is closed, that's great, but then there's a lot of activities that go on in my department. Taxes, W-2s, 1099s, all of those are in play. We have finalized all of them except for 1099s, which we are having a lovely challenge with. First challenge is the second year of it being required to be done online through a system that crashes constantly through the IRS website. Crystal's brand new. This is her first time doing it. Crystal has also been selected for jury duty this week, which was her week to get it done. So she's trying to do it remotely from the courthouse and my assistance through email with various pieces that I can help her with. But I'm just going to hold my breath till Friday when we hopefully get everything submitted because there is no extension option for entities to submit their 1099s to the IRS. Other than that, all's going well in the finance world.
Yeah, but if I can do a handout, I didn't make it, this didn't make it to the packet, is that okay? Okay, so this is just a quick snapshot of our So community development department's year in review. I'm a nerd. I was a teacher before, and so this is, anyway. This is a little snapshot of kind of our year in numbers.
Wow.
And that's just for you guys to peruse. I was super proud of our department this year. We had 172 building permits submitted this year. So you can see on the graph higher than the last 2 years. A lot of that was the new construction for the apartment buildings, because there are a lot of separate buildings associated with that. And we also took over Aiden, our new permit tech, is processing all the like water, sewer, those kind of permits that come in. He's taking them in, getting them processed and pushed out. So he's been a huge help with that. So you can kind of see the percentage breakdown of those permit types on there. We issued 33 new residential permits. We had 10 single family residences with attached ADUs. So we're seeing a lot more of that, which is awesome. We had 7 standalone ADUs and 6 new SFRs. And then we have the multifamily development. So we issued 391 new units this year, just again, huge. We performed 1,543 inspections. Huge shout out to Christian, because we didn't have a building official for half the year. And she has been the primary inspector. She was doing everything by herself for 6 months and then is the primary inspector still. She puts in a lot of effort and hours, so give her a huge pat on the back if you see her, because it was a crazy year and it's gonna be crazy this year with all the big commercial projects. If you flip it over, I did a little breakdown on special use permits and design review permits. Amy McCoy processed pretty much all those design review permits this year. So shout out to her. We had 83 land use permits. Some of them are just simple B&B renewals, but we did have 3 short plats and a binding site plan. We had a couple variances that we processed for the city, if you remember that, and some boundary line adjustments and a few, looks like 3 conditional use permits. And Amy also processed 277 business licenses. 102 of those were inside city limits. So just a breakdown there. And then just to recap, I did meet with the Board of County Commissioners on January 21st. And the mayor and Selby and Celeste, and then our city attorney was there as well. We discussed a path forward with adoption of some of our city codes that we have sent over to ask them to adopt. They had some concerns with code language, so those are being tabled at this time. The goal is to meet with the county for them to provide us with some details on what code sections they're really concerned with, so then we can move forward. So more to come there. We had a hearing examiner. Amy presented on a B&B on January 24th, and that went well. That was her first meeting with a hearing examiner and her first presentation, so I was super proud of her. She did great. Next week, February 6th, our Rally Our Future is hosting the housing summit at Pybus Market. There are quite a few of you guys that are going to attend, so make sure you get signed up. There is a registration and a $10 fee. Next month on February 24th, we will have 2 more B&Bs going to hearing with the hearing examiner, and those will be put on this calendar in the next week. They were going out for public comment on Thursday. That's all. Thank you for your time.
You know, if
Nerds rule, good job.
there's rule, if there's a cutoff time for that meeting on the 6th, are they cutting that off at some point or not?
I don't know. It just says it's filling up fast. I'm
And
like, I
yeah,
don't know
all
what that
right, I
means.
know what that means, but again, it's
I find-
$10, but the city would pay anybody that wants to go from here, so. And you got some of the housing folks, right? So anyway, yeah.
Maggie, I had a question on the bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
So how are we tracking? We're supposed to have 4%, right? So how are we watching that?
So the ones that have come in were based under last year's numbers because they were vested under 2024 with their complete applications. I actually was working with Chelan County today because some of the data that I use to get that information is not available on GIS for me anymore. So I have to get special, anyway. I'm working on getting a new map and reevaluating those numbers to see if our total housing has gone up, which I'm assuming it has, and then we'll reevaluate that percentage. It's on it. We do it on an annual basis. So before I get another B&B application in, it'll be under the new numbers for this year. I just don't have them yet. I
Okay,
don't have any new applications under this year.
because I do know, like, the more houses that go in, the more bed and breakfast can go in because percentage
Right,
goes up.
right.
So, and I didn't know just what we're using as a standard number, what we base it on.
I have that information somewhere and I can send it to you.
Okay,
It was part of the last B&B application.
all right. Thanks, Maggie.
All right. Andy?
I'll start with a few restroom updates for you, actually. The Vilkeman restroom, we have 2 single stall restrooms out at the Vilkeman Park and Ride. They're going to be closed to the public for a few weeks. We've had a large number of people sleeping in there. And most recently, we have found multiple needles in there. So
Needles.
Multiple what?
needles.
This is behind Safeway?
Behind Safeway, so we're gonna close that bathroom for a few weeks just to break that cycle. They do have like timed locks on the exterior of the stores, but what happens is people shove toilet paper and things in there so that they don't lock at the end of the night. That way they can still access, so just wanted you to be aware, we're purposely locking those for a few weeks just to break that cycle. And then also the downtown temporary restroom trailer that we have has been frozen for the last 2 weeks. And it's not actually our water line into it, but it's the influent line in the trailer itself is frozen. So if we can't get that unfrozen, we're going to have Apple Valley temporarily remove it and then bring it back once our temperatures are warmer and bring support.
Are we paying for it now while it's unusable?
We contacted them and said that we're having them come out. Evergreen Rural Water is sending a rep out next week who's just gonna do a walkthrough with both of our water and wastewater divisions to look at safety and emergency preparedness. I don't really know what to expect, but I'm excited to just have another set of eyes on the system and just give us some more input there. And then a few project updates. We are advertising the pool mechanical improvement project next week. So for those of you that are on the PRSA board or are aware, we're replacing the filters of the pool. And then we have some other associated mechanical improvements, piping and the VFD. We did already purchase the filters directly, but they have a really long lead time. And so we have those on the way now so that once we have a contractor on board to install, filters will be here and don't delay our schedule. I think right now we're looking at trying to have the pool open by May 9th. Or available to be opened. The Icicle Road transmission main, that large $6.2 million transmission main we talked about is going to be advertised in early February, which is coming up really soon, which is very exciting. And then the TIB curb ramp improvement project, which is addressing a bunch of curb ramps that are not currently ADA compliant throughout the city, is going to be advertised in early March. That's my update.
I didn't catch the date. You said you're hoping the pool will be open.
May 9th.
May 9th. is our-
May 9th?
That's our,
Open
sorry, available
for
to be
training.
open.
Training.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Memorial Day weekend, sure, Memorial Day weekend.
All right, that's it. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm going to adjourn.
Yeah, you got a second. I'll give you a second.
Internet delay, Shane.
All those in favor, let me see your hand. Okay, good night. Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Shane.
Feel better, Shane.
Feel better, Shane.
He's not here because he's sick.
Or thank you.
Yeah.